Silk Road is blowing up search engines. At its peak, searches were up over 3,000% after Gawker's Adrian Chen broke the news of the eBay-like black market website. Only accessible through Tor software that makes users anonymous online, Silk Road is an underground website where users can buy illegal drugs, among other things, a fact that has politicians screaming for government intervention. But the most fascinating part of this story isn't just the availability of illegal drugs online. It's how people are paying for them. They're called BitCoins, a new form of encrypted virtual currency currently trading at $18.80 per Bitcoin. And with over 6.2 million of them in the market right now, that equates to over $160 million of wealth. The future of this virtual currency is the subject of our real-time conversation. Joining us from Raleigh, North Carolina is Bitcoin project developer and the founder of Bitcoin Watch, Jeff Garzik. Jeff, how are you?
Doing just fine, thanks.
You're in your room, your developer room, I see. There's a lot of computers around. So this is a pretty complicated concept. How do Bitcoins work exactly?
Well, thanks for having me on your show. Bitcoins are definitely a complex concept. They are a decentralized electronic currency with no central bank. And the way they work, the way that it's secured, is through peer-to-peer technology. You have multiple computers on the internet, easily probably over 100,000 at this point, collectively working to verify Bitcoin transactions on the internet. So it's a shared trust type of...
I mean, that seems a bit idealistic. Like, you just come up with your own currency? Is that how it works? How do we actually trust the credibility of this?
Well, at this point, it's the verification network is more powerful than the world's largest supercomputers. And so you have much more technology developed, dedicated to securing the technology than you do protein folding or working to analyze nuclear tests at Lawrence Livermore Laboratory or any of the other supercomputing tasks.
So we're just supposed to trust that it works and no one's getting taken advantage, that if I buy a Bitcoin from you, that it's a real Bitcoin. Is this actually the currency itself anonymous?
Well, one of the reasons why Bitcoins are so popular is because you don't have to trust what I say, what any claims that anyone makes, because Bitcoins are fully open source. Okay. You can review the entire code, you can review the public transaction ledger, which is every single Bitcoin transaction is stored on the web for everyone to see. That's how we prevent counterfeiting. And so this week with Silk Road headline making news and some of the other stories, we've really been issuing corrections madly left and right to journalists and politicians alike that when they claim that Bitcoins are anonymous or untraceable, in fact, the opposite is true. It's imminently traceable. It's every single Bitcoin user has a copy of this public Bitcoin ledger on their computer.
So I have to say, wait, so the Bitcoins, they've gone from an exchange rate of 75 cents in April to over $18 now. That's a huge leap. Is that because of Silk Road? And what do you feel about you being now associated with a site like Silk Road, which is selling guns and drugs online and enabling that?
Well, we're pushing back on that pretty hard. This is mainly, in our humble opinion, this is more about kids hopping onto a new technology without fully thinking it through. It's fairly easy for law enforcement to get a court order and look at your ISP logs or look at other details of your computing history, which can tie you to a Bitcoin transaction. And so it's pretty bleeping dumb to do a lot of illegal transactions on Bitcoin when it's so easily traceable. The authorities already trace anonymous prepaid Visa debit cards and anonymous prepaid phones.
Yeah, so, Nick has a question here.
So I have a question. So if it is traceable, you know, Lulzak said that they got $7,000 worth of Bitcoins donations. how can the government not trace who sent them and the guys who are receiving them and you know, track them down?
Well, they can by the methods just described. That's why I say they're basically dumb kids that didn't think this through. Everyone can go to blockexplode.com and view every single Bitcoin transaction.
But who's
that's
actually
ever
going to do that? A real consumer? I mean, this is obviously for people who get code. I mean, and I get this.
Not only that, but the opportunity to mask your identity and your location based on what Kevin was telling us about how to get a prepaid card and how to get a prepaid cell phone and set up these accounts.
Also,
and
We have a question
so
from the What's Trending community, actually.
No worse than any of those other methods.
So wait, Jeff have a question from
Jacked
the
Up
community.
721 would like to know what happens when the Bitcoin market drops.
Then everyone's Bitcoins lose value. It's rocketed up, as I believe it was Shira just pointed out. And boy, it can either go one of two ways. Either it's going to go way back down because it's a bubble, or it's going to stay where it is because, as I believe, Bitcoins are really a worldwide currency, and we're coming up to the level at which Bitcoins will be stable. If you consider that you're just now at the very start of a startup currency, and many, many more people worldwide will want to hold Bitcoins, then they're pretty undervalued.
Now, Nick, is this, and Kevin, you can answer this, is this the future of money, or is this an illegal enterprise, all of this?
Neither.
Neither.
Yeah. It's just it's another currency online. I think it's you know, it's not, it doesn't, I mean, in some respects it replaces cash and value of certain commodities, but at the same time it's just another way of transactions. And you see other transactions where people trade products and services rather than actual cash, and I think this is just another one of another value in that respect.
But you have Senator Chuck Schumer is actually saying Bitcoin is basically money laundering. How do you react to that, and are you worried about the government shutting you down, Kevin? No, Jeff.
We're actually working with the government to register Bitcoin exchanges as MSBs, or money service businesses, to make sure that the government, the long arm of the government, can indeed reach Bitcoin. Because in my humble opinion, and a lot of Bitcoiners are diehard Ron Paul libertarians who might not necessarily agree with me, but the only way Bitcoins are going to be successful is working with regulation and with the government. And so that's what we've been doing specifically with the Bitcoin exchanges. That's where you change US dollars or euros to Bitcoins and back again. Is all of those are fully registered with the government, fully complying with all the anti-money laundering and know your client laws. And basically it's a problem that cash can always be used for good or evil, just like US dollars. But we hope to tip the scales in favor of the good guys.
So where PayPal, there'll be a link to Bitcoin if you want to transfer Bitcoins instead of your credit card in the future.
Oh, in the future, PayPal and credit cards will be denominated in Bitcoins in addition to US dollars.
Interesting. Well, this is an incredibly fascinating story. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
And of course, all of you can find out more. Just go to bitcoin.org.